papers have recognized the paradigm shift to competency-based learning, and the questions in these papers reflected this shift. Teachers, especially of social studies and religious education, appear not to be adjusting their teaching methods in this direction. And so we find that candidates had difficulties in answering questions that required them to apply their knowledge in SST, particularly on issues that affect their community and issues that affect their country. The SST emphasizes more where the children live and the issues that affect their country. And we find, unfortunately, this is not coming through in the answers that the children are giving. And this partly explains, I think, the drop in the performance. Examiners have also pointed out the very negative impact of papers developed and circulated to schools by certain so-called examination bureaus just before the examination. These bureaus make their papers to mimic the way UNEB exam papers look like, including the instructions given, the layout of the rubric page, and they sell this to schools, making schools believe that these and others that they sell are what UNEB is likely going to examine. And Mama, these papers are bought, and the examiners are telling us that they are observing that they are having a negative impact. Because, Mama, they have now discouraged the teachers from setting papers or setting tests using the knowledge that they have. They now depend mainly on buying these items. Mama, in the tables that we have picked out some areas, learning areas in the different subjects where candidates were showing difficulties. They are shown there in mathematics, in English, in integrated science, and also in social studies with religious education. Mama, on top of these, there are other issues where the board will produce detailed reports, and these will be shared to schools with advice to teachers how they can handle some of these concepts which children are showing difficulties in. We only hope that when we share these documents, they will be used. Mama, allow me to say something brief on examination malpractice, just on top of what the chairperson has already said, that the board has succeeded in delivering question papers safely to all examination sitting centers, thanks to the collaborative efforts and support of the district, the chief administrative officers, and the district officials, that is the district inspectors of schools and the district education officers. Chair, in appreciation of this particular release, that's the reason why we have two representatives of the district inspectors of schools, the chairperson of the forum, who is the district inspector of schools, Mbarara, and their general secretary, who is the district inspector of schools for Lira. Mama, if you recall the video clip I showed while we were briefing you, the man who was speaking in that video is this gentleman, the district inspector of schools of Lira, whom you saw literally sailing his car across a flooded section of road. He wasn't driving anymore, he was just sailing the car because I thought it was going to sink. Apart from this, we also have the other local governments and the police. Examination malpractice, Mama, has now taken a brazen form where scouts and invigilators are bribed or threatened with physical harm if they do not cooperate by the school directors and head teachers to allow teachers to assist candidates directly in the examination room. Mama, you will also recall a picture we showed when we were briefing you of one teacher who was caught in the act of conducting a lesson during the examination. Honorable Minister, as you've heard from the chair, this is sad, particularly as that some of our would-be partners in the district education offices are becoming complicit in this and other professional acts. We shall have very detailed discussions with these partners of ours to see how sanity can be restored and we go back to conducting examinations as we have known them to happen. I'm grateful, Mama, to our dedicated security team that has worked so hard on these cases of examination malpractice. As the chair reported, a number of arrests have been made, and we are glad that as I speak now, some of them are already serving jail because they have been convicted and sentenced. Others are on remand waiting for appearance in court in various parts of this country. In accordance with Section 5, subsection 2B of the UNEP Act, Cap 259, the board will withhold the results of these affected candidates pending completion of our investigations. And where there will be a prima facie case, the board's tribunal, the Examination Security Committee, will accord all the affected candidates a fair hearing before making the final decisions, which decisions, Mama, may unfortunately culminate in the cancellation of some of these results. As we analyzed the cases, the districts where these cases are coming from, we have noticed that the districts of Kisoro, I'm very surprised because Kisoro has been a very safe district in terms of exam malpractice. We don't know what happened, but a number of many cases have come from there. Kampala, Mukono, Namutumba, Kasanda, where the district inspector of schools himself was arrested, Buyende, and Kaliro, among others, have contributed to the biggest number of candidates whose results will be withheld. Mama, I want to salute the leadership of Chenjojo, Kabarole, and Bundibujo districts, from where most of the cases were emanating. Mama, you remember previously, about 3 years ago and back, each time we were here, you'd know that the majority of cases were from Kabarole, Chenjojo, Bundibujo, and sometimes Kasese and Chegegwa, the Rwenzori region. I think that a great change of heart appears to have taken place. And also, particularly in the case of Chenjojo, Mama, I want to report that when the results of the 2024 primary leaving exams were released, the chief administrative officer of this district took very, very stern measures on the head teachers of schools that perpetuated this vice. Although they went to court and threatened him, he stood firm with his local council 5 chair, whom they also threatened not to vote because of that. But that was one of the results I was very, very keenly watching out for, and I was glad to know that the chair was re-elected, despite the campaigns that had been waged against him by the group of teachers, thinking that they would influence the election. So these two persons, leaders, took very stern action, and this year we don't have a single case that has been reported from this district. And I want to thank Mama that if the other leaders in other districts took similar measures on these cases, this issue of examination malpractice would be a thing of the past very, very quickly. Mama, allow me to express our gratitude. First of all, I must give thanks and praise to the Almighty God for His blessings upon us. Mama, we dedicated each stage of the examinations process to God Himself in prayer, and I believe that He answered us each time. And I think, Mama, that is why we are here today, because of His blessings. To Him be the glory, I pray. Mama, the examination period found you already very busy supporting His Excellency the President as he traversed the country, delivering messages of hope and prosperity to our people during the presidential election campaigns, as my chair has already said. But we knew that wherever you are, that despite your very hectic schedules, you found time to pray for the success or the successful conclusion of the examination process. That, Mama, has come to pass. The exercise was successful, and we are here to give you the proceeds of that success. And I join my chairperson in expressing our profound gratitude to you, Mama. I'm grateful to the board under the very stable, rather to the very able leadership or stewardship of the chairperson, Professor Celestino Obua, and his board for providing good governance and creating the environment that allowed management to perform its role efficiently and effectively. I want to thank the Chief of Defense Forces, the Inspector General of Police, and heads of other security agencies that gave us the security, the cover that we needed for a smooth conduct of the examination. Chair, we have invited two officers from the Army and the police. They have been introduced to you, but in my own way, also I like them to step forward again in the open and greet you with the kind of salute that they only know. Their names were read. Brigadier General Christopher Columbus. He's not the one who discovered America. It was somebody else. I am grateful, Mama, to the Chief Administrative Officers, district and urban education officials who worked very closely with us to ensure that counterpart funding, logistics, and personnel were mobilized for the examination process. Mama, I want to report that there are still some local governments that do not budget for the conduct of the PLE administration and depend solely on the contribution from UNEB. Mama, in such districts, the shortage of funds severely constrains the proper conduct of the examination. And I pray that at this time, when the budgeting process is ongoing, they remember to allocate some resources for this cause. I salute the media for the close working relationship that we have enjoyed. The media houses have ensured that our programs were publicized widely. Mama, these are not the ones who reported last week that UNEB servers had crashed and therefore there would be no PLE. These are not the ones. Neither are the ones who reported 2 weeks ago that the UNEB building that you commissioned in 2023 had been set on fire by unknown persons. These are not the ones. But if some of them are here, we expect responsible use of social media, not to disinform the public. Mama, in a very special way, I pay tribute to the staff of UNEB, those invisible and unsung heroes Sorry, I was interrupted by a piece of paper here. Those unsung heroes, Mama, who do everything tirelessly to ensure that the board's mandate is fulfilled. Mama, they spare no efforts in the service of their country. They were introduced, but I want them to stand again and wave to you. The invitation to stand was not done by me. This time I'm doing it myself. Thank you very much, my dear colleagues. I thank the examiners who worked so hard to complete the marking in good time, despite the very busy campaigns that were going on at the time. We had time to concentrate and mark. And then I also thank the institutions that offered their premises for us to mark from. I wish to appreciate the efforts of the parents and guardians in supporting their children through the cycle of primary, culminating in the sitting for this examination. I also congratulate the candidates who have passed the examination and comfort those who have not passed and those who have not obtained the pass level that they expect. Mama, when eventually you declare the results released, we are going to have a number of parents coming over and telling us, my daughter, my son was an aggregate 4 material. She's crying, he's crying, they are not eating because they have got 5 instead of 4. So sometimes, since they were not doing UNEB exams, to get those 4s that they thought they would get, these results may not be exactly what they may have expected. We ask that they accept. But those that have not passed, Mama, you have encouraged them to repeat. And I think at some fora you said if they go back to school, government is still willing to support them under the UPE program. Mama, the board greatly appreciates the support Parliament, particularly the Education and Sports Committee of Parliament, in appropriating the funds to facilitate the board's work. And of course, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development for the timely release of these funds. Ma'am, allow me to say something about how these results will be collected. Results for each examination center will be uploaded on the center portals, Mama, as soon as you officially release them. However, district, municipal, and city inspectors of schools may wish to collect the hard copies, and these hard copies will be available from UNEB offices in Ntinda from Monday, the 2nd of February, 2026. Please, DISS, do not go there this afternoon. We will not be there to serve you. Parents, candidates, and other interested parties may use the short messaging service, SMS, on MTN and Airtel mobile networks. Results of the candidates will be posted on their mobile sets instantly if the correct procedure is followed. We advise as follows, that on your phone, go to the messages menu, then you type PLE, you leave space, and type the full index number of the candidate. and then you send to 6600. If you do this correctly, you should be able to get the results almost instantly. But I like to say, usually the moment Mama releases the results, all mobile phones in the country will be typing PLE and trying to get the results. So the networks may be a little busy, and so it might take you a few more seconds to get the results, but they will be there. I urge the heads of centers to study the result lists and submit any queries on, for example, spelling of names or the date of birth, if they feel that there are errors on this, to UNEB within 2 weeks from the date of release. I conclude, Mama, by praying that God blesses His Excellency the President in the new term that he will soon start. Mama, I also pray God to bless you as you continue, hopefully, to steer the Ministry of Education and Sports. I'm praying for that. May God bless UNEB, bless our parliament, and bless our motherland, Uganda. Mama, thank you very much for listening to me. I submit my report. Mama, we have provided some statistics that are showing in districts, and unfortunately we did not combine the municipalities together with the districts because these are also different local governments. So we have shown the districts and municipalities separately. Those that have become city, please forgive us if we still refer to you as municipal, MC, meaning municipal council. You are a city council, you know it. So we have shown Division 1, 2, 3, Division 4, and Division U. Mama, what is really of concern to us are the percentages of Division U shown in the second last, the column under Division U, and the percentages. There are districts that are posting extremely high percentages, almost a quarter of the candidates are passing, are failing. 24.5, for example, on page 1, you will see, I think that is Bundibujo, and there are other districts that are posting equally very, very high percentage levels. But I'm also glad to note, Mama, that there are districts that had been posting very high failure rates. One district is Queen. Queen used to be 37%, but now that failure rate has come down to below 20. So I think something good is happening there, and something like this can also be replicated in other districts to reduce the number of candidates who are ungraded. Then also of concern, as you have often said, Mama, is Division X. These are the children who registered but did not show up for the examination for various reasons. We hope some of these reasons can be mitigated so that as many of our children who register for examination are able to appear and sit the examination. I thank you very much, Ma'am. Mama, the cheat that was brought here is to give, that we give a few minutes to arrange for the handover of results. Usually at this point in time, my chair would hand over the results to you, but I think there is some delay. We will have to get time to speak to the neighbors that we are sitting next to while this comes. Thank you very much, Mama. I exit the podium now with another round of applause.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what the Executive Director has said is right. We've been guided to have a humble break just to catch up a bit with colleagues in those few minutes as we prepare for the official handover of the results to Mama. And so at this moment, you can catch up with your all-time friend and plan for 2026. All make new friends. Yes, and the medical people here, including Hajati Safina Musene, tell us that we don't need to oversit. So you may want to stand up a bit and let the blood flow. You can let the blood flow. In the meantime, we can also continue to reflect on a few comments made so far. One that touched me is about prisons having more men. I think we need to pray more for the men. But at the same time, yes, thank you. At the same time, I know that men can still perform good things. Like indeed, the results show that boys are also excelling academically. They can as well excel in terms of discipline and morals. Please look for that old-time friend. You may also find out if your colleague has received new appointments. We are also assured that more channels are doing direct transmission. I mentioned earlier that we have UBC. I also mentioned NBS. But I'm also confident that Tayari TV and Bukedde are also transmitting live and clear. So our people are really out there, eagerly waiting to receive the results. You could also update your colleagues on whether you are retiring very soon or you are changing position to another organization. All that can be very helpful. I also want to catch up with my long-time brother here. For you, you always get the conversation from me about his smart. He has been like this since full time. You missed him at Makerere. It was the same time. It was the same time.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Exercise can't
Ladies and gentlemen, still in that position, may we have a prayer to place this function in the hands of God. May I invite Commissioner Juliet Muzora to come and lead us in that prayer.
Lord Almighty, we gather here today, the 30th of January 2026, to receive a gift from you, to receive a gift from His Excellency the President, to receive a gift from Mama, the Minister of Education and Sports, to receive a gift from the parents of Uganda, to receive a gift from UNEP, the board, the executive director and team, to receive a gift from all the stakeholders that supported the learning process of our children who completed the primary cycle 2025, with the climax of sitting the primary living examination. Lord, we thank you for the gift of those children, for your word in Psalm 127 says that children are a gift from you, Lord Almighty, to those that you love. And as a nation, we thank you for the gift of children. We thank you for the gift of everybody that has supported these particular children in this cohort to go through this process. We gather here
to learn. The massive enrollment of UPE that we witnessed today, and the 63.8% of UPE candidates whose PLE results is being released today, stand as a living testimony to the vision of our president. Mama, I also wish to note that to date, the literacy level in Uganda has significantly improved from 43% to 76%. Thank you. This increment is very critical for Uganda as a country as we look forward to transform our economy to modernity. Mama, convey a sincere appreciation to Mosei for his steadfast support that has enabled our team at the Ministry of Education and Sports to implement critical reforms in the education sector. May God continue to bless our president, to bless his visionary leadership, and to give him a health in mind and body. As we release the result of over 800,000 candidates today, I take this moment to register our heartfelt appreciation to you, Mama Janet, the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports, for your steadfast leadership, your clear vision, your tireless service to Uganda's education sector. Your guidance at the Ministry of Education and Sports has provided stability. It has provided direction during this critical period of reform and merger. Under your stewardship, Mama, education has remained anchored on values of teamwork, anchored on values of accountability and fear of God, ensuring that every child, regardless of her or his background, has an opportunity to learn, to progress, and to succeed in life. To date, under your leadership, Mama, the enrollment in primary schools stands at 11,700,000 learners, of which 52.4% are male and 47.6% are female. The reverse is true with the PLE results we are releasing today, where we have more female as compared to the counterpart of male. Out of the 11 million, 9 million, which constitutes 77.1% of the learners enrolled, are in UPE schools, while 32.9% are in private schools. This is a true testimony to UPE policy that believed education is a right, not a privilege. May your leadership, Mama, continue to guide the sector towards excellency, quality, and national development. Thank you, Mama, once again, thank you. Permit me, Mama, to thank UNEP for the timely release of PLE results. The board and the staff of UNEP have worked tirelessly to ensure fairness, integrity, and credibility in assessing our learners. The results released today speak not only of individual performance, but of a nation's commitment to education of the foundation of its future. Mama, I'm grateful to our teachers who have done a great job despite the challenges they encounter. However, some teachers still register frequent absenteeism in class, contributing to high failure rates. I therefore call upon our teachers, those teachers, to renew their commitment and to remember teaching profession is a call to serve. I thank parents and guardians for their sacrifice and supporting the education of their children. However, I encourage parents to provide meals for our children during school days. This will enhance their concentration in class and improve performance. As I conclude, dear candidates, this moment may come with joy, it may come with relief, it may also come with disappointment, but use the results to work harder for your future. And there is still room to repeat, to improve on your grades for those who did not perform well. Permit me, Mama, to appreciate all stakeholders who have contributed towards quality education, because education is a shared responsibility, as you have always stated. Mama, on behalf of Ministry of Education and Sports Fraternity, we commit and we pledge to build not just strong schools, but to build strong values, to build strong character and quality education for our country. Once again, I thank you, and I say all this for God and my country. Long live Mama Janet Museveni, long live our president, and long live Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's now my single honor and pleasure. The country is waiting for the statement from the Minister of Education and Sports and to officially release PLE results 2025. Mama, it's now my pleasure to invite you to come and address the nation. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and rise to welcome Mama as she comes to address the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kaduchu, and please sit down. Honorable Ministers of State in the Ministry of Education and Sports, the Chairperson and members of the Education and Sports Committee of Parliament, the Chairperson of Education Service Commission, the Permanent Secretary and your team, the UNEB family present here today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all and happy and blessed New Year. Now let me begin by thanking God as always. Let's thank God and praise Him for the gift of life and for a new year, 2026, and for having taken us through an election season in peace with a victory at the end of it all. Today, we are releasing the results of the 2025 primary living examination, the first in the scheduled results of examinations that UNEB is by law mandated to administer. Most of the candidates are the products of the Universal Primary Education, as you all know, a program put in place by the NRM government 30 years ago. Since the inception of UPE, hundreds of thousands of our children who would otherwise have not had education due to challenges of school fees have been able to complete primary school cycle. With the renewal of the mandate now of the NRM government by the people of Uganda, UPE shall continue to play its role in expanding access to basic education for all. The commitment is to have all children attend primary education for free. That's the commitment government is going to have to make sure it really happens. That is, without paying any school fees. Because completely free UPE is both an opportunity and a platform for all children in our homeland to receive foundational learning that primary education is supposed to give. So I take this opportunity to thank the people of Uganda for the overwhelming vote of confidence in the NRM government to guide our homeland on the steady path of socio-economic transformation and a qualitative leap into high middle class status that we're looking forward to. Now, as we celebrate PLE, we must also observe a moment of silence in honor of Honorable Geraldine Bitamazire, the former Minister of Education and UPE. If it's okay with you, please stand up and let's remember Geraldine Bitamazire. May God rest her soul in eternal peace. Please sit down. I now applaud the increase in numbers of children, as you've just heard from Mr. Gong. The children completing the primary education cycle and the fact that dropout rate is reducing. This is an indication that more children who started primary 1 in the 2025 primary 7 cohort remain in school to the end of the cycle. As I have stated previously, while I'm certainly happy with the numbers of girls completing the primary education cycle, I become concerned about the fact that the proportion of the boys completing this cycle has been decreasing. Is this purely a demographic matter, or are more boys and girls indeed dropping out of school? Either way, it is important that we establish an evidence-based explanation for this trend. As you heard Mr. Dong say, talking about the inmates taking examinations, that most criminals are men. I don't know whether any parent wants to take that news as news for our country or good news at all. We want all our children to have all the blessings that we want our education to provide, or our government to strive to give to all our children. I am pleased, though, that our children with various forms of special education needs have been in school and were able to sit for PLE. As can be seen from the statistics that UNEP has provided, when the right environment is provided, these children perform as well as those without disabilities. Therefore, this shows that the government's policy on inclusivity and equitable education is bearing good fruit. We must also continue to applaud Uganda Prison Service for providing the inmates an opportunity to further their education as they serve their sentences. I firmly believe, as I'm sure others do, that giving this opportunity is an impactful way of rehabilitating the inmates. The education they acquire should enable them to integrate back into society easily and more profitably and reform into better citizens. The results indicate that more learners passed in Division 1 compared with the 2024 PLE cycle. This is a good development, a very good development. Although the overall proportion of learners that passed slightly declined when compared with the previous PLE results of 2024, what is of essence is that in absolute numbers, more children passed their PLE in 2025. As a government, our investments in establishing additional seed secondary schools in recent years has created room to absorb more learners that are transitioning from primary education to O-level. Since 2019, we had a target of building 259 new seed secondary schools through the UGIFT program, as I'm sure the ministry will remember. As of today, we have so far completed the construction and operationalized 204 new secondary schools, whereas 55 are still in various levels of construction progress. In addition, you are all aware that in 2025, with the enactment of the TVET Act 2025, the technical vocational education system regulated by the TVET Council was legally established in Uganda to exist alongside the general education system. So this technical vocational education system is also a pathway that learners who complete primary 7 can pursue. The government has 42 community polytechnics in addition to about 100 privately owned community polytechnics that can also absorb learners from primary 7. The study duration in community polytechnics is 3 years, upon which the successful trainee is awarded a community polytechnic certificate that is equivalent to completion of O-level. Therefore, I'd like to remind learners who may not transition to either O-level or the vocational education path to take heart and repeat primary 7 so that you get an end of primary education cycle certificate as evidence of attainment of basic competencies. I note that UNEB, just like it was done for the 2024 PRE results, has looked at whether learners had attained mastery of knowledge and skills in the subjects they studied. More detailed analysis has been done on achievements at the various grade levels as well. This is appreciated because we can then understand better the meaning of the grades that our learners attain. From the Executive Director's report, the examination emphasized the competence-based learning approach that the country has adopted, and the questions tested knowledge, understanding, and application of the knowledge to solve problems in the community. This is the direction we are heading, to ensure that the learners at this level are equipped to cope with the requirements of the competence-based curriculum at UCE. It is essential for our teachers, therefore, to adjust their teaching methods to the new realities. The Ministry of Education is implementing various interventions to ensure quality capacity building of our teachers. This is very important for our ministry, but also for the country as a whole. These interventions are part of the National Teacher Policy 2019, whose standards are being implemented through in-service or pre-service training opportunities. I am happy to hear from the board chairperson that for the last 2 years, UNEB has conducted training for teachers from 2 districts selected from those with the lowest levels of achievements. The training can, however, be expanded to all lower performing districts to improve performance countrywide, as shall be done under the ULearn project with the support of the Global Partnership for Education beginning soon. Furthermore, the Ministry of Education and Sports has embarked on reviewing the primary school curriculum to ensure alignment with the revised lower secondary curriculum. This will also be an opportunity for a review of the way learning in primary education is monitored and assessed. I applaud the contributions of the Chief Administrative Officers, the education officials represented here today by some Executive Committee members of the Inspectors Forum in ensuring the smooth conduct of the 2025 UNEB examination. I am glad that you, the representatives, have been invited to this function. I want you to convey my gratitude to your colleagues for the good work you are doing to uphold the standards of education in your respective local governments. However, I also want you to convey my displeasure at some unprofessional practices in the administration of examinations and within the teaching profession. According to UNEB, such practices take place leading to examination malpractice, the common forms of examination malpractice being: 1, posting specific invigilators to examination centers as demanded by school directors. 2, posting invigilators to the very same schools where they are teaching. And 3, posting fewer than required numbers of invigilators to an examination center, thus having some examination rooms not being supervised. Among the suspects remanded by the courts that we heard about today is a district inspector of schools. Isn't that unbelievable? UNEB has reported that some education officials have facilitated the registration of private candidates as UPE candidates, thereby defrauding government. This is completely unacceptable. Relatedly, there is the mushrooming of private examinations bureaus that have continued to distort the purpose of learning. Learning is not about passing exams only. It is demonstrating acquisition of desired competencies. So, the argument that examinations bureaus can continue with their ways because the government liberalized the economy really does not hold any water. Therefore, I have asked the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education and Sports to diagnose where the loopholes could be in the practice of examinations bureaus. These loopholes must be closed by either enforcing the existing legal and regulatory frameworks or formulating new frameworks where none exists. I wish to now emphasize that management of PLE is a shared responsibility between UNEB and the local governments. I therefore encourage local governments to always plan and budget for the administration of UNEB examinations within local government. Some local governments have not been budgeting at all for this activity and only relying on the contribution from UNEB. However, I greatly appreciate the critical roles played by the joint security forces and other stakeholders in ensuring that the government delivers quality end-of-cycle examinations. Thank you once again to UNEB. And I want all of you to join me to thank UNEB once again for presiding over the successful 2025 PLE examination season. And allow me also to thank the parents and guardians that supported all our children whose results are being released today. Thank you. Thank you for all the sacrifices and efforts you make for the education and well-being of these children. My gratitude also goes to the teachers and staff in all our schools who do a great job in the learning experience of these young people. Well done. And before I conclude, I also want us as a country to speak out and be vigilant against teacher absenteeism. To speak out and be vigilant against teacher absenteeism is a duty for all of us in schools. Why should a teacher who's earning a monthly paycheck be absent for a whole month and no single parent in that school is making any noise or alarm about this? Teachers who continue to receive monthly paychecks from the taxpayers' money but are absent from duty must be asked to choose whether they want to remain in the public teaching service at all or altogether exit and use their skills elsewhere. Therefore, I'm tasking the Directorate of Education and Standards to make use of the technology that the government has heavily invested in to monitor teacher presence and teaching in the classrooms. When releasing the next set of PLE results, we must get answers as to why we have many ungradable candidates in a school or schools in each local government, where such a school has a head teacher, teachers, an inspector of schools, and a district education officer on the government payroll. So we need to not stop at lamenting about unsatisfactory academic performance of our learners, but put to task those who are at the front line to explain why the results are the way they are. As I conclude now, I'd like to inform the public and the school managers that the selection exercise for Senior 1 will take place on the 12th and 13th of February 2026. The Ministry of Education and Sports will communicate further details regarding this exercise. The first term for the Senior 1 cohort of 2026 starts on Monday, the 2nd March 2026. Finally, as I said in my statement during the release of the 2024 UCE results, UNEB was informed by the Personal Data Protection Unit or Office that publicly disclosing the names, photographs, and individual grades of learners on boards or other publicly accessible platforms, such as media platforms, exposes learners to harassment, stigma, and emotional distress. This, therefore, is to remind all media houses, media practitioners, school managers, and UNEB that the Data Protection and Privacy Act, CAP 97, prohibits the publication of personal data of children. Accordingly, schools and media houses, as well as individual journalists, are advised to use alternative methods of sharing examination outcomes without compromising individual learners' privacy by way of disclosing personal learner information or data. With those words, it is now my singular honor to release the 2025 Primary Living Examination results for public use, and I thank you all for listening to me. Here. Thank you, and God bless you.
Remain standing for the anthems. PA, support me in reverse order. 2 stanzas each.